Hi, welcome back to First Chapter. I hope you're enjoying the readings by the authors, and I hope you're getting an opportunity to purchase another book that you might not have known existed before. This is an opportunity to bring readers and authors together, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to read several different first chapters by various authors. The authors that chose to read for themselves, I'm just posting their videos for them and linking their books in the description. So if you're interested, you could pick up a copy. And so today I will be reading from Famous Destiny, The Monster in the Forest. It is the sequel to Finding Famous. It's by me, Alexis Anicque. And it looks like this. I know it's backwards, but I have not yet figured out all the technology of making things look normal. But anyway, so I'll just get right to it. I hope you enjoy the first chapter of Famous Destiny, The Monster in the Forest by Alexis Anicque. Chapter 1, Is Anyone There? Let me grab my glasses real quick. I didn't do that last time, and that was a fiasco. Is anyone there? And just like that, the spell was broken, and the curse was lifted. The bright light had disappeared, and her world had gone dark. Famous was alone in the darkness. Hello? Is anyone there? No one answered. Again she called out, again, and yet still no answer. Famous sat in the darkness, trying to make sense of what had happened. She replayed the whole thing in her mind, laying out the amulets, breaking the spell, removing the curse, and darkness. Well, I can't just sit here in the dark, her voice echoed, which gave her an eerie feeling. Her voice trembled slightly. Hello? She wasn't sure if she should be terrified that she seemed to be alone or be grateful. Then another thought crossed her mind, which was much worse. What if she wasn't alone? She needed to take some kind of action and find a light or a door. Crawling seemed to be the safest bet. While she crawled along the floor, her fingertips brushed a coin. No, she thought, an amulet. 1 of 7. She picked it up and shoved it in her pocket and continued to crawl, occasionally calling out in the darkness. It was pitch black. The complete absence of light, she said. Her words echoed in the room again. Her heart rate jumped, and she felt a slight warmth from her pocket as she crawled along, feeling for the other amulets. Famous! In the dark, she thought she heard her name. It was spooky and sounded drawn out like they pronounced every syllable. Was she being taunted? Hello? She called out again with a little more panic in her voice. Is there anyone there? She found another amulet and tried to visualize what the room looked like before the lights went out. It had been such a long, horrible day. Her stress level was beginning to skyrocket. The more she concentrated on the events that led to this moment, the warmer the amulet felt in her pocket. Her hand and pocket now began to glow. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the first amulet and examined both amulets at one time. The amulets were slightly glowing in her hand. Famous lifted her hand to see her surroundings and see the light had started to dim. As the light faded back to darkness, she started to become more afraid. Okay, Famous, think. Calm down and think. She could hear her own voice. It seemed so loud. She continued to crawl along until she ran into a wall. Head first, of course. She rubbed her head where it bumped into the wall. She began to feel the wall as she rose up from the floor and decided it would be best to walk, feeling the wall, searching for the door. She brushed her hand along the wall to a corner and continued to the next corner and the next and so on until she'd made it to the 5th corner. Her heart began thumping. Rooms don't normally have 5 corners, so I'm back where I started, and no door. No door, the words repeated in her head again. No door. Suddenly, she heard scratching noises from the other side of the room, and she jumped back against the wall. Who's there? No answer. She couldn't help thinking of rats or rabid dogs like in all those thriller movies she'd watched. Suddenly, she heard a pounding noise, and then more scratching. The more noise she heard, the harder her heart pounded. Famous! She heard her name again. It terrified her. The voice sounded muffled or ghostly even. The 2 amulets began to feel warm again and started to glow bright enough to dimly light the room. She held her hand out, and the light from the amulets began to fade. She stared at them as they went dark. All she could see was the blackness dotted by visions of little yellow dots. I have got to find the rest of these. She crawled across the floor, feeling for the amulets. I'll never find them this way. More scratching and banging, and then she thought she heard muffled voices from the other side of the room again. Great! More scary voices in the walls. She sat up and slowly backed away until she hit the wall. Hello? Her voice was shaky and sounded strained. She sat and tried to reason with what was happening. What if I took Angelica's curse, and it bounced back to me, and I'm trapped in here for all of eternity? Her mind started working on overdrive. She felt the cold wall on her back as tears began to well up in her eyes. I have got to get out of here. Suddenly, the amulets began to get warm again. I have to focus. Come on, Famous, focus. She squeezed the amulets and closed her eyes, thinking of the brightest light she could ever imagine. When she opened her eyes, the amulets were glowing. Holding her hand high, she continued to focus her energy on the light. 4 walls, no door. 4 walls, no door, she repeated. Fear raced through her. 4 walls, no door. 5 small round dots on the floor caught her eye. The amulets, she thought. She quickly walked to them and gathered the remaining 5 amulets. She could swear she heard her name yet again. She held the amulets high, concentrating on the light. Heat and light radiated from her hand. They felt like they could burn a hole in her hand. More banging, more scratching, more voices. She turned to the direction of the noise. There was nothing but a wall. Famous, she heard, but couldn't believe her ears. It sounded like Ellie. She walked toward the wall and placed her ear against the wall. Ellie? Famous called out. Ellie, is that you? Ellie, are you there? Please tell me it's you. Famous, I can hear you. Famous, are you okay? Ellie replied. There's no door, Ellie. I'm trapped. She was screaming and tears streaming down her face. I can't get out. Do you hear me? I cannot get out. And that's the end of the chapter. Well, I hope you enjoyed my first chapter of Famous Destiny, the Monster in the Forest. And I will put the link in the description below. And anyway, if there is any of your friends that are authors that have books published, just let them know about the channel. Let them know that we are reading first chapters and trying to get readers really interested in our stories. So, well, that's all I have for you today, and I hope that you'll join me on the next video. Oh, please like and subscribe.